Welcome back to the next segment. We've got an amazing guy, Andrew, here. He is going to tell us more about U.S. industrial dominance and how he's working to do that. And we like that at the Steam Zone. So tell us what you're working on, Andrew.
All right. So Noramark is a product that we built. When I say we, it's brother and I have been working on this. It started with an idea, right? Like it actually started with this idea. My brother has been in manufacturing, fabrication for a long time. And I was working at Amazon and he wanted to have a product made, right? And he's like, hey, you're at Amazon. How do I get this thing made in the US? And I was like, oh, it is super easy. Like our sellers make shit all the time and sell it, right? So I started to dig into it and I realized, oh, wait, in the US, no one seems to know how to do that. It's super easy. You want in China, India, Alibaba, go to these other sites. It's very straightforward. Doing it in the US ended up being just Google search. And it was actually very difficult to do. And initially we thought, oh, maybe nobody makes stuff in the US. And we started to dig into this more and we learned that it's absolutely not true.
You're not alone in that theory, Andrew. Others have had similar thoughts.
So the thing that's surprising to most people is the US is a pretty close number 2 behind China in terms of manufacturing output. And actually not that far behind. The US manufactures a tremendous amount of stuff. It's just that it's hard to know who's doing what. And it's a combination of factors, right? One is just decades of stagnation. For the people who are still making stuff in the US, outside of specifically defense, but they've been told for decades that they're stupid, right? They should just offshore it. They should just send it overseas. It'll be cheaper. It'll be all this stuff. And so a lot of them have really learned not to trust the folks around them. There's just become a very low trust environment with a lot of IP theft, with private equity buying companies and just gutting them and sending everything offshore. It's become a pretty low trust environment. There's a number of factors impacting, I think, the modernization of manufacturing in the US. When I talk about modernization, I mean something like Alibaba, right? Where we've come to expect the ability to go online, find something, and get it pretty quickly. And I think that expectation is carried over into manufacturing as well. It's not just consumer goods. But you've seen a lot of folks, if you look at X at all, right? Like Zane talking about the buy now button for metal from the US, right? And things like that. And that sort of thing is just, it's hard. You don't find a whole lot of that in US manufacturing. You do see that overseas. So that infrastructure is kind of missing. And I think that as there was this big craze towards offshoring and pushing everything overseas, that modernization, that modern infrastructure hasn't built out in US manufacturing. So we started with this idea like, hey, we want to build that. Let's build Alibaba for North America. And one of the first obstacles we ran into was that a lot of US manufacturers just don't want to put their prices online. They don't want to put their designs online. They don't want to put their capabilities online because it's all going to be stolen by Chinese manufacturers. Everything. You put your price on there, it's $399 for this particular thing. They're going to put their price on there as $380 or $289 or whatever, even if they're taking a loss. And they can do that because of the weaponization of trade from our unfriendly partners like China.
That's a big idea, Andrew. I want to hop in here for a second. The big idea, and this is the claim, is that American manufacturers don't put things online because it's just giving away information that otherwise there's a bit more embarrassed to pick up a phone call. So they're willing to basically trade additional friction in a selling process, a sales process, because they don't want to give away the competitive intelligence to places like China. That's a big deal.
We've seen that firsthand, and folks who make consumer-facing products in the US run into this all the time. Right? Like they put their product on Amazon, and 50 copies of it will show up on Amazon, sometimes using their pictures, using the same naming, and so on. And it's very problematic. People spend tens of thousands of dollars trying to have these imitators removed. And if you're a manufacturing company and you've got tons of components that you make, trying to chase all that down and stop it is really difficult and often not worth the headache. I mean, that's part of it, right? So there's this trust component. Who am I doing business with? I need to know who you are. So initially, we actually built a prototype of this like marketplace. Like, okay, you put all your parts on there and you can sell them to people, to other businesses, right? B2B marketplace. The folks we spoke with are like, yeah, we love this idea. We're not going to do it because it opens us up to too much risk. But we hope everybody does it, but we're not going to do it. And we heard that from so many people that we said, okay, let's take a big step back. What we don't need is a marketplace. What we do need is some kind of trust score that US manufacturers, specifically US manufacturers, can use to do business with each other and scale beyond the business card and the person they met in person at a trade show. So that's what we built into Noramark. The core aspect of Noramark is this thing called the Noramark score. And it's based on the business you've done with other US companies. So the concept that we anchor the Noramark score in is trust. And the trust comes from other US businesses. So it's not like a Amazon review. It's not a price contest. It's actually based on verified American businesses that have done business with each other. If you had some shop make a part for you and you find out that they just outsource it to China through Xometry, that's going to be reflected in their score.
Andrew, you just explained a scoring system. You got all the way through it and you didn't use the word AI. I'm impressed.
Yeah, how do you is there, and I love it if this is true, is there no AI buzzword here? Which is
There's
great.
no AI buzzword.
That's awesome.
No.
It's the opposite of Intel Inside. No AI.
This is great to hear.
We do use machine learning. We use deterministic machine learning in our system. I hate the term AI for what it's worth. I have a hot take on just about everything. But
this is good. We love a hot take on AI. Let's do a tangent here.
I refuse to call it AI for starters. It's an LLM. It's a large language model. There's no intelligence. It's pattern matching of existing data, right? So if you try to use a model like this to make guesses at the future, it's going to be wrong almost every time. Whereas like more classic deterministic machine learning, like you can actually make projections with that and you can know why they might be accurate. So yeah, I could go on and on about that. But
Ben, I think Andrew just turned off genius intelligence. We're not doing genius intelligence. Just shout out to President Trump. Yeah. No genius intelligence.
And again, I'm not a troglodyte. I love tech. Like I'm all for this for new development. And
award, we got an award for the biggest word ever used on the Steam Zone. What was it? Troglodyte. I got to be honest, I have not heard that one before. That's good. You're teaching us something new, not just about industrialization. This is exciting.
Nice. That's awesome. So yeah, so we built out this trust score infrastructure and actually got a lot of traction with this. We had a lot of companies come and say, this is cool. We like it. And our idea for monetization is if you need a higher level of verification. And so we will help to verify people up past a certain point, right? We'll do some of the verification, but you can organically grow your trust score in the system without paying as well. All right. So it's free to start and you do get access to more features in the system with the paid tiers, more business intelligence, but it's not a requirement. The next step after that though was, people were like, well, I want some way to transact on this trust score. At the end of the day, I'm running a business here. I want to make money with my business. And so what we're releasing now is a no-fee marketplace. And the reason for that is twofold. Everything we do, we try to root it in these principles of U.S. industrial dominance. And when I look at what Xometry is doing, I couldn't design a better way to cripple American industry than Xometry. And I know a lot of US shops make money off of Xometry. It's a great way to get parts made quickly. But when you think about it, what they're doing, they own that relationship between the buyer and the seller, right? The maker and the buyer. They own that relationship. You have to transact through Xometry. They charge a pretty significant fee for it. And they're giving you these options to go and offshore this part maybe for less money in China or India or wherever. What we're doing with our no-fee marketplace is literally flipping that on its head. So the trust score is what you're transacting on. We won't charge any fee. You own the relationship. We monitor the relationship through the trust score to get other data points from other people. So maybe you get to know this company really well and you're transacting with them and you think things are going great. Maybe someone finds out something about them that you didn't know. Now you have that intelligence as well. So you own that relationship, but we help you to keep monitoring that relationship over time. So rather than getting in the middle of these transactions, we actually get out of the transaction and let US shops transact with each other, but we help to monitor that trust score over time so that you know that the company you're dealing with, whether they change owners or whatever happens over time, right? So you know what's going on with that company over time.
Right. Matchmaking platform of sorts, but you're not trying to own the relationship. You're not trying to, it's the difference between a TaskRabbit model where they don't want to take anything off the platform and more of a facilitator where you just want people to connect and they use you as the backbone of trust.
Yeah, think of it this way. Rather than using Uber to ride hail, right? Imagine if you could see drivers in your area and you could see their driving records. And you said, that's the guy I want to drive with today. You could drive with him anytime. Maybe it turns out the guy ends up with a drinking problem, gets a DUI, right? You don't know this, but the driving record's going to reflect that. So you can decide next time around, do I want to keep going with this guy that I know, whether his driving record got worse or not, or maybe I don't want to work with him next time. But like with Uber or Zometry, right? They're obfuscating what's going on in the industry completely. You don't really know who you get matched with, right? You don't know what they're doing with your information. With our system, you just work directly with people that you know, but you have access to their sort of records and how they're transacting with others. It's like FICO or like being able to see a driving record.
So what's the response been so far, Andrew? Do people have to sign up, or do they have to opt in, or you can just create those scores ex ante?
No, people do have to sign up and opt in. We have the world's largest directory of U.S. manufacturers. So that is information that we've pulled together. We've scraped that information. We validated that information. We've made that public. But then as far as the trust scoring system, people do have to opt into that. So if someone is just in our directory and they're not opted in, trust score is 0, we don't know about them. Someone either comes in and claims that directory listing, says, hey, that's my business. They come and add their business, then they can start building up their trust score.
Yeah, big undertaking. So where are you guys at in this process? What's the momentum? What's the stage of maturity?
It's early days for us. We're coming up on 9 months that we've been doing this, and 6 months since we launched the very first version of the web application you could log into. And so far, the response has been really good. We've had traction with several hundred U.S. manufacturers that have actually come in, signed up, and started tracking their own trust scores. We have a deal with Siemens USA. We're going to be doing a press release on that soon. Siemens wants to use this to help to expand their reshoring efforts in the U.S. And it's a great way for them to bring in their network and then expand that network as well as they go.
Wow. So people are interested, if they want to learn more, if they're looking to source potentially manufacturers, where should they go? How do they get involved?
Go to noramark.com. That's the thing to do. You can use the directory. What I encourage folks to do is log in, set up their business. You don't have to be the owner of the business. You could be an engineer who works on something. As we roll out the marketplace, you can search, you can add your demand into the system. You can search and see who has those capabilities and who can meet that demand. But yeah, just go to the website and start.
Love it. So before we let you go, Andrew, it's tradition here on the Steam Zone. We give you 30 seconds here to tell us what's on your mind. Blow off some steam. 30 seconds. You've got the floor. Anything you want.
Oh man, so my big picture vision for this and what I really would like to see is for folks on the manufacturing floor, machinists and welders, making the same amount of money as programmers in San Francisco. And we think we can help drive that by fixing the valuation of American manufacturing businesses. Rather than everything just being kind of locked up in the owner's head, right, and the contacts that they have, we can actually capture the long-term value of these businesses, which helps to bring more finance, more investment into U.S. manufacturing, which raises wages, right, for manufacturers, drives demand. I would love to see a future where high school kids are like, I want to go be a machinist. I want to work on robots. I want to build stuff. I think that would be a huge win for our country.
I love it. It's a laudable mission. It's an important goal. And I think you're going to make it happen. Andrew Kornuta, the company is Noramark, noramark.com. Check it out. It's a great follow on X if you're on the socials. Andrew, thanks for stopping by the Steam Zone.
Thank you for having me.